Peace, y'all. How y'all feeling, man? Welcome back to another episode of CHUCG TALK, your favorite payday show. We ain't even gonna do the whole food thing with y'all today, man.
I am hungry though.
I'm hungry. I'm starving. I can eat this camera. No, I'm really hungry though. But I'm happy to have y'all back. Since we've send me the link for the lens.
No, I was saying save me the lens.
You gonna eat the lens?
Yeah.
All right, you eat the lens. I'm gonna eat the camera roll.
All right.
They just like dinner rolls, like camera. Y'all ain't feeling that? That should have been my joke of the day. Camera roll, dinner, whatever. But no. It's since we've seen y'all, man, we've had a lot of great events, great engagement.
Man.
Just man, y'all gonna get to see some of this stuff at some point. But right now, man, we kind of basking and just happy to have been able to execute how we did and be able to connect with folks, man. So everybody who came, showed love, contributed, shared, commented, tagged, whatever, man. Grateful for all of those connected to us. And very clear that you all are essential to a lot of the work that we're doing and being able to help us carry the work in different assets or whatever. So, with all that being said, now that that's out the way, today, our topic for the day, we're talking about black media, right?
But you talk about joke of the day.
We gotta get in the top first, then we go back to Jay. So we talk about black media, but before we
gonna do the joke of the day,
gotta do the joke of the day. You know the joke of the day. You know you the joke of the day.
I am the joke of the day.
I mean you can be the joke of the day, but I don't think nobody gonna laugh. Black media is our topic. Before we dive into that, I'm gonna let Brother Eric go ahead and slay y'all, if that's the proper language, with the joke of the day.
All right. So my question is, what is the spiciest name out there?
Spiciest name out there?
Yeah, the spiciest name out there.
Garlica.
Nah.
I'm reaching. Hot Suzina.
Nah.
Cayenne? No, I'm thinking like seasonings, but as names though. So I can't. Spicy. You said the spiciest seasoning out there.
No, the spiciest name out there.
Spiciest name out there. Spiciest name.
It's pepper jack.
That's the
Hey yo, when I tell you that I came up with that joke this morning, and I forgot that I was doing joke of the day. I forgot everything.
Yo, that is funny.
Yep.
It's just one of those jokes that you're not gonna win against, yo.
Yeah, no, I'm cool that it's wet.
The name is Pepper Jack. It's a spicy name because it's Pepper. His name Jack.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Y'all can use that if you want.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Just give me credit.
Give me a second, y'all. Give me a second, because I ain't gonna be able to do it.
Should we stop though?
No, we good. I swear we good. I'm sorry, y'all. So, hey, look, joke of the day right there, yo. That's one of the best jokes of the day. I might have ever heard. I'm actually genuinely about to cry over here. My eyes are watering. His name is.
Hey, yo.
The spicy and then the name is what fools me, yo. Yeah. Because I sure enough thought it was one name that was just spicy. But when you say Pepper Jack,
it's like Pepper Jack Johnson, you know what I mean? Right. Pepper Jack Monroe.
Yo, that is
Pepper
really
Jack Muhammad, you know what I mean? But
that's really good, yo.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Hey, if I can for a second, y'all, just make a quick CHUCG Talk moment and start this and say I don't like losing, but I'm willing to sit here today and admit that might have been the funniest joke we've had thus far. And it's not even like complex. It's just a good joke.
Right. I appreciate it.
Oh, man. No, I got to give credit when due, bro. Oh, that is really good. Pepper Jack. All right. Oh, man. That beats the bone to pick, yo. But Pepper Jack, yeah. So, yeah, y'all. So, while we just had a great laugh, I hope y'all laughed as hard as I did, and y'all got to wipe y'all eyes.
They probably did, too, bro.
I know, y'all. And that's why I'm going to feel bad, because y'all ain't get to feel what I felt in my tummy when I was laughing. But it is what it is. No, but happy to be back today, and today we're talking about the black media, right? Which can be perceived and viewed a lot of different ways, how it's affected our communities, how it showed up in front of us, how it's evolved over time, how being connected to it has benefited us, and how being connected, how being disconnected to it has also benefited us, and vice versa with being connected. The cons of being connected and cons of being disconnected. So, yeah, I think we're in a time of this year, every year, where media is really showing what they are and how they move and how they show up, especially around the time of folks would perceive as holidays.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm excited to talk about it, but just to jump into it, I want to let you share first.
Sure.
Just in general, when you think about black media, what comes to mind, and like what resonates for you when you think of it?
Yeah, I wanna start actually just kind of talking about media, and as we are hopefully as we are airing this and as you're watching it, we're on so-called Black Friday.
Yeah.
That has in the commercial world been designated as a time where people lower prices, but then also see a jump in the purchases.
Yeah.
Folks, corporations wait for this time
Yeah.
to make all the money mostly that they're gonna make, and they project this. And so I'm saying this because as we think about Black Friday, or so-called Black Friday, and we think about the ways in which marketing and media is utilized
Yeah, man.
to draw people, particularly black people, but draw people in general. And when I say particularly black people, because that's what we're talking about, not
Right.
that black people
Right.
are overwhelming, because probably white people are buying more during Black Friday, or others with means. Those who have means are those who going to get an 80-inch TV for,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, like a quarter of the price. Or,
Yeah.
you know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
for sure.
But anyway, as I think about media, man, I'm thinking about at the very raw level, media is literally a medium of communication.
Right.
Right. So as we talk about this is a medium of communication. YouTube, we have other mediums of communication that utilize different technologies. But when we talk about media, we're talking about essentially a channel or a pathway to share messages.
Right.
So when I think about black media, I'm talking about ways in which, or as I think about it, ways in which black people own the messaging that comes through a particular platform or platforms that shape the way we think about it.
Right.
And I would say from that standpoint, I'm going to say something that's very hard for us to hear, that is just my opinion. From that standpoint, black people do not have major outlets, and so therefore there is not truly any black media.
True.
BET, not black media. It is propagating certain things that executives presume that black people want to hear, movies that we want to watch, things that we want to see and feel connected to. But I'll tell you, that ain't black media. When I think about black media, I'm thinking about the types of mediums of communication that are owned by black people. And the reason I say that, I borrow from what Dr. Amos Wilson talks about in his text, Blueprint for Black Power. He talks about media as a power resource, right? So being able to communicate with, as a power holder, being able to communicate to your members, and even if it's members of society, propagating or what's the word that you call it when you evangelizing, if you will, sharing these ideas and getting people to reproduce those ideas. That's what I think about when I think about black media. I'm talking about being able to share messages, and we know that if we're going to build power and we're going to utilize it to build to move toward liberation, the way that we do that is by having various mediums of communication. But I recognize that in the 21st century, we compete.
Right.
Everybody got podcasts. Everybody has a clothing line. Everybody has books. But when we think about mediums of communication in black media, we have to think about all the channels and platforms that are available for us to be able to share ideas and concepts of liberation.
Yeah.
Because what permeates media today is not messages of liberation. It's about how to be consumers, how to accept the status quo rather than change the status quo. And that's what I'm hoping that Black Youth Institute contribute to, and other organizations and other movements. Just like Movement for Black Lives, man, they've utilized mediums of communication to really shake up some stuff, but I think we definitely have more work to do.
Yeah. No, man, you said a lot of powerful stuff, and I think I think what I want to add on is kind of two-parted, if you will. I think the first thing I would lift up is just thinking about media in general, even if we take the black off of it, right? When you think about media in general, bro, think about how much access, intentionally and unintentionally, you have to it, right? So we wake up in the mornings, and we got our TVs and we got our phones, right? And then not only that, because I mean, if you really want to go back to media, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would also perceive media as, even in times of no TV and no phone, your newspapers, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's your way of delivering
Radio.
myself, right? So we wake up in the mornings, and this is a day-to-day life, I would say. But you talk about access to how much you're consuming the media, how much you're actually connected to it, right? Your TV and your phone are some of the first things you probably get in touch, or folks get in touch to in the morning. You get in your car, you cut on what?
The radio,
right?
Or music, whatever
Right.
you playing from your phone.
You come to work, 9 times out of 10, you are talking about what?
What's going on in the world?
You go home and you watch what?
A movie or news
Right.
or whatever.
You go to sleep, and some folks, if you're like myself, you go to sleep maybe watching a movie or reading a
Yep.
book,
Or listening to music,
or
whatever.
or doing what? What do you-
Scrolling on.
So my thing is,
Yes.
I think part of one thing we got to lift up, that we must lift up, is for folks to actually realize the kind of relationship you have with media.
Yeah.
There was a time where folks had none of this, and were happy and able to communicate and able to share and able to connect, and took pride in figuring out the ways to do that.
Right. But they still have mediums of communication. Right?
Absolutely,
Word of
absolutely,
mouth.
absolutely,
You know what I'm saying?
absolutely, absolutely. And now we're in a space where capitalism has done what capitalism does,
Yes,
and forced us into a way of living in what we would want to perceive as what the world would perceive as a more convenient way
Yes, sir.
of being able to get in touch with folks.
Yes, sir.
Because now I can talk to somebody in Cali,
Yes, sir.
in Maryland, every
Yep.
day if I want to, at no cost.
Thailand,
You know what I mean?
or
So
Ghana,
I said
where-
to say is that when you talk about black media, not only one thing I think that happened when we transitioned into this super world of technology is that media blanket got big, right? So now you got black media connected, or you got media in general connected to all these different outlets, and like you said, folks are pretty much, I would say, connecting the culture to these networks in order to sell, and in order to, you know what I mean, I guess build up the repertoire, the kind of audience you're looking for. BET was a great example of that, and I honestly, I want to be very clear. I know who the I know I want to say I knew who the CEO of BET was. I feel like she stepped down though. However, I'm not sure what the hierarchy of the power is behind BET. I want to be very clear about that.
Oh, that's been sold to white folks a long time.
That's what I was about to say, but I am clear on. That I am clear on. When you
Yeah.
talk about who makes the decisions,
Yeah.
I'm almost 300% clear that some non-colored folks in power behind it,
Absolutely.
who allow colored folks to deliver or kind of make it look like decisions are coming directly from what
Yeah.
will be perceived as a community.
Yeah.
So my whole thing is, I think when I think of black media, without getting too far into it, I think one thing we gotta do is be freaking careful. Be
Yeah.
careful about how much we consume, right? Because if you look at it as food, you know what I mean? One, you shouldn't be eating that much food during the day. Am I right or am I wrong?
So you talking about media obesity?
I'm talking.
Ooh!
Media obesity.
We filled up on the
Yeah.
information that we're given from white supremacy to
Oh,
perpetuate it.
there's a
All right,
clip.
go ahead.
There's a clip that brother Denzel Washington, man, had,
Mm.
and he said, please don't. I can't go word for word. I can't go word for word because I don't
Paraphrase
remember.
it, paraphrase it.
But he said something along the lines of, if you don't see it all, something like that, you don't have enough. But if you see it all, then what's too much, or something like that. But I think forgive me, I might be mixing the words up. However, but his thing is that like too much of media, you know what I mean, will destroy you. I mean, like literally, you understand that media was built to program. That's what media is. If the thing is, if I didn't want you to go out and buy the sleep number mattress, I wouldn't make a mattress with the sheep sleeping on it with the remote in his hand that says 66 on the number bed. If I didn't want you to go and get you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, media is meant directly built, and it's the vehicle to program this.
Absolutely.
And when you allow folks to manipulate that space,
That's
that
true.
should be ours, that should be controlled and directed by us,
That's real, bro.
then we really lose. Because you control the mind, you control the mass. So,
Bro.
I say that, yo. But that's, when you talk about black media, though,
Ooh!
that's what I'm at with it. But that media obesity, can we write this on the screen somewhere?
That's
I can't do it, but yeah.
Let's trademark that.
yeah,
So I think
powerful.
to your point, right? If we're thinking about the ways in which we consume information, bro, you brought up some really hot topics that I think people have talked about over time, and that is imaging. That is thinking about the what is penetrating and permeating our spirits.
Right.
It shapes, like
bro.
you said, how we think, how we behave. I often talk about the ways in which corporations have done a good job of normalizing dependence on those corporations to feed us, right? So when you think about like what it's going to take for us to build movement, a conversation about media has to be there, whether
Absolutely.
it is contributing to knowledge through books and zines, contributing through knowledge through commercials and digital content like what we're doing right now. I think that we have to be clear about that, and whether it's flyers or utilizing social media and other mediums of communication, because the thing is, as you said, with all of the white noise, and I mean quote unquote white noise that we hear all the time, we've grown dependent on that white noise in so
That's
much,
powerful, bro.
in so much
That's
that many of
powerful,
us have adopted and developed behaviors like, because I remember doing this growing up, every holiday or everything that I can remember related to food, TV was always there. Music was always there. And I'm not saying these things are bad. The question is, with those mediums of communication, who's controlling it?
Right, exactly.
What am I reading?
If it's
What
always
am I
on.
listening to? What am I watching? Because when we think about our five senses, those natural five senses, not the spiritual ones, but our sight, touch, smell, taste, and what's the fifth one?
Hear.
And our hearing. Those are the pathways into our spirit, into our bodies.
There you go.
Right?
There you go.
So the question is, as Dr. Amos Wilson talks about, who controls access to or denial of those things that we need? Those who provide for the social needs and desires of the people are the people who have power over us. So when we talk about sovereignty, not just food and all of that, we're talking about being able to control every aspect of what permeates our being. So when I talk about our movement work being a work of humanization, of humanizing ourselves, of moving away from what dehumanization has, media has a role in that. So when you think about historic examples on this platform, we've talked about maroon communities, we've talked about movement, we talked about a lot of different stuff, and media is a part of that. And again,
Major piece, bro.
when we talk about media, I'm not just talking about TV as we kind of like lazily talk about, but like you said, brother, mediums of communication, whether that is through you watching it, through reading it, through listening to it, we need to be able to have and contribute to that. If we're gonna get to freedom, we have to have freedom messaging that goes through those things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, bro. I think that's powerful, man. I think the last things I'll add is that like just backing off of what you said, there's not a lot of like inputs in these spaces from us. And also I want to add this piece. There's not a lot of inputs from these spaces from us, and I feel like the inputs we've had have been alongside of what we've already seen because we feel like we have to compete in those spaces. But also, I think there's always been a triple percentage of extraction from media than there has been contribution.
Absolutely.
Folks love to only extract what they want to know or want to believe and run and you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I said to say is when you do that, you're doing the job with the oppressor. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, they don't got to work that hard. You send one commercial around that says XYZ, that's going to be in 42,000 houses across the nation in no time. And then when they go to work, that's going to, you know what I mean? So I think it's really interesting, man, how we really got to define our roles inside of media and understand that we have a role and understanding the effects of it. Because like you said, losing our mentals or losing our minds in this, or losing access to control our minds, bro, you giving a lot up. You know what I mean? Then you got to think about all the fresh canvases and young children that we have out here who have yet to be given the kinds of education that would shape them in their final ways, if you will. So media is by far one of the most major things and major effects in our community. We have a major role inside of it, inside of the undoing process in it, inside of the liberation process in it, inside of denormalizing white supremacy and white perspectives, if you will. But I also want to just lift up and say that our contributions to media so far has not always been negative. Has been, you know what I mean? Been. I just would like to see us show up in a way that's more intentional, and I think that's the only thing that's standing between us and that. It's just that folks need to know that this is what should be being done.
So can I offer up something really quickly in the
Absolutely.
way of, if folks are listening now and are thinking like, okay, all of that analysis sounds good, well then what? All right, here
Exactly.
we go.
What's next?
So my thought is, if you take what we just said as, there's some truth in it, you would have learned, or at least asserted that, all right, we have some work to do, and mediums of communication that exist, and the technologies that we have, including word of mouth and other ancient technologies like spiritual communication and all of those things, because I don't want to take those away, are possible tools available for us to share. Then what do you do? All right, I'm glad you asked that question. I would say that the one thing is to really do an analysis and an assessment of, what am I listening to? What am I watching? What am I taking into my being? Number one. Number two, as a part of that assessment and analysis, what is it doing for me? What thoughts am I generating and creating as a result of that, right? And then what process do I need to go through to undo some of the things that I don't want and sharpen the things that I do want, right? And then the next step would be, and these are not meant to be linear, I do this, then this, then this. They can happen all at the same time, is thinking about how do we compete, because it is a competition. How do we compete, as you talked about, Brother Lee, the difference between civil rights movement and movements that we have now is that information is always on. And we talk about this often. I remember a time in my lifetime when TV used to go off. TV don't go off no more. TV's always on, right? And so I think that because of that, then the question becomes, how do we, not trying to infiltrate the mainstream tools that exist, how do we utilize tools that we have to share and to begin doing the undoing process that you mentioned earlier? And I think that means that we have to produce our own knowledge. That means that we have to engage with our larger community to do stuff like ethno-education that teaches our young people about our own traditions rather than the traditions that they're learning on the TV. Because ultimately, mediums of communication are communicating ideas that then go to our how we understand the world, which then contribute to how we behave and act within the world. And if that is the function of media, then we have to take control of what we're thinking, how we're thinking, because that ultimately will impact what we're doing. And so those are some thoughts on how we do that. I think that at the same time, what that means is resisting the urge to do what is being told that we should do in the mainstream. That's one of the biggest things that we have, and Dr. Audre Lorde talks about that often. You can't deconstruct, if you will, the master's house with the master's tools. Like, if you're gonna build a house of liberation, you can't use the master's tools, right? That is, you have to be able to develop something new, and with the ancient wisdom that exists and that is at our disposal, we have the ability and the right to move in a direction that helps us get to where we want to be, man.
Yeah, no, that's super powerful, man. This has been a really good episode. And for folks who have a different perspective or might have pushback, I'll leave with this, or we'll leave you with this. Think about media, like we talked about earlier. Think about it as food. Think about it as food, right? Too much of it, right? Not good for you. Too much of it,
too much of the bad stuff ain't good for you.
Too much of the bad stuff ain't good. Now hold on, because I'm about to light them up now.
Go ahead.
Too much of it is not good for you. You get obese. Right? Now when you go about your food, you don't just walk around eating anything. Am I right or wrong?
Absolutely.
That's why we got our Whole Foods and our Giants, right? Right? Yeah. You have a preference, right? Because what I don't think folks are making a correlation of is that, like, what you feed, just like you feed your body, you feed your mind. Right? And it's the same thing. So you think about, that's just food for the thought. That's all it actually is. So you want to be careful about where you get that food from. And you want to know where that food is coming from. And you spend too much time on one meal, you might mess around. It might actually spoil you. It might have an effect on you. And I think one of the biggest things is disease, bro. And that's the last thing I'm going to say. One, I think the biggest things that folks don't recognize or understand is that what you eat today is not going to affect you till later. Like, let that sink in.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? You eat food.
Yes,
if I
sir.
eat something right now,
Yes,
I
sir.
have X amount of days or weeks, or it might be years, right? It might be a consumption of the same thing, of too much of the wrong thing over time that sets up for my collapse later on.
Yes,
However, media is the same way. You sit, you poison your mind, you engage inside of unproductive, unincentive, and unadvising for your community, then you're actually going to set yourself up for a loss. And believe it or not, and I'm saying this out of my mouth, is that you take yourself being valuable outside of a movement like this. You know what I mean? So don't make yourself invaluable. Be careful about what you're engaging in. Understand what your relationship with media is, and use media. Don't let it use you. That was from the Players Club too. Use media. Don't let it use you.
So then, did that mean that we need to come up with a communication or media diet?
I can
to
dig
prevent,
it. Oh, I like
obesity?
that. To prevent media
Information obesity?
Can we come with a whole media plan?
I think we have
for
to.
thought plan?
I think we have.
What?
I think we have to.
What, man?
This is a big conversation that we continue on. I know we're gonna close out, but I just want to say this really quickly, y'all. As this is airing, this is Black Friday, but what I want you to know that in 2021 that you need to get excited about. If you've liked Chug Talk, just know that the Black Yield podcast is coming for you. So you have the opportunity to see audio visually and through, on your favorite platform, to be able to get access to it so that you are listening to some of these kinds of things in more structured in a longer platform. While you're driving, while you're working, you're harvesting, whatever you're doing, talking about these types of political topics that have us think about different things. The whole point for all of this, y'all, is to do exactly what this show was about. Thinking about how we think and thinking about what we are bringing into our spirits, so that we do exactly what we've talked about today, is be mindful of our diet of information and consumption, so that what we're consuming contributes to where we want to be. And so I thank you all for listening. This Chug Talk will go on until the end of the year. In 2021, the Black Yield podcast about to... I ain't even gonna tell you no more.
Man.
I'm gonna let it do its own thing. You feel me?
Hey, tell a report to the bridge to blow up, man. That's a pay the full quote. No, it's all love, man. We appreciate y'all. We'll take our starving, somewhere and eat PB&J because nobody brought us lunch. But you'll see us on your next payday. It's all love. Please send us questions. Find us at Cherry Hill Urban Community Garden. Find us at Black Yield Institute on Instagram. Find us at Black Yield on Twitter and Black Yield Institute on Facebook. Otherwise, peace.
See y'all.